Hello there, future minions. Tired of the goody life? Feel misunderstood by family and friends who just don't see the potential in your devious ways? Want to make a real difference in the world? Shake things up with world domination, maybe? And want to help someone else achieve that dream? Need health insurance? A retirement plan? Come to Marlowe's villainous volcano lair, where you'll be treated like the minion you know in your heart to be. Remember, being evil is just a plane ride away.
Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel. It's Artsy bringing you another video for the channel. And today, friends, it's a momentous occasion because we are doing a tour of my finished BADDIECORE villainous volcano lair, say that 5 times fast, and talking about the plans for the next build, the next island, if you will, because yes, friends, yes, we are resetting. We are resetting Sonder for a different way of playing, you know, the typical way as Nintendo intended, but I wanted to be sure that I shared Sonder because I didn't do many lives with this island because of just postpartum and using the channel to feature the other island and all of that stuff. So we're going to do a quick tour and see what I finished off stream, because I did a lot of it off stream, to be honest. And we'll go through the lore, we'll go through what I liked and I didn't like about the island, mostly just because I felt that I could have incorporated more supervillain based tropes, but I didn't really feel I didn't have the confidence really to finish the tropes as I wanted, but the tropes that are featured are really fun, and a lot of you gave so many great suggestions for it. So let us start with this flag. I made it myself, and we'll feature the map. I'm actually really happy about how the map turned out. It looks very dynamic. You can visit through the dream address. It has been updated for the August season. So the hibiscus shrubs, yes, the hibiscus shrubs are in bloom, with red and yellow being featured as the primary colors, as well as a lot of green. This is a volcano-based island, so there is a nice curve around, and you can see the front area, the entrance, is built into the volcano itself because I love Pixar The Incredibles. So I got a lot of inspiration based on Syndrome's, you know, over-the-topness. In fact, my character is based off of, like, if Edna Mode had been evil, you know? So instead of no capes, it's like no reset buttons or no self-destructive devices, which, you know, we Doofenshmirched that all over the place. It's very great. So here we have, oh, well, maybe I should go back to the map. Here we have Marlowe, who is the main baddie himself with his daughter Flurry. That is the lore. And we have all sorts of minions, which includes the robots. So with Petrie, she created Sprocket first, and so he has the most personality. He's kind of like the top minion, right? With the robots themselves. And then you kind of have the copy paste robots, which is so mean to say, with Cephalobot and Ribbot. We have Flurry, who is Marlowe's daughter, and Tabby, who's kind of like her evil bestie. We have Quinn, who is the Heart of Gold baddie, the one who, if this was a movie, would help the hero kind of defeat Marlowe in the end. And of course, we have Raymond, who is the super villain accountant who is trying to get in the family by marrying Flurry. There are screenshots actually of Flurry and Raymond together, and it is so fun. I had this whole notion of playing out, you know, Flurry getting upset that Marlowe doesn't accept their love, and so she just, you know, blows up the island in a really grand fashion. There were screenshots about how Flurry had gotten into a fight with Marlowe and she was going to give him a gift, and then, you know, she explodes the island instead. But we're going to do a quick tour. Oh, and also Beryl, our favorite security guard, who is in the back before leading up to the main house, which we'll also do a tour of, and just talking about the overall layout in general. I've tried really hard to utilize, oh, hello Flurry. I try to utilize as much of the buildings as intended, because when it comes to builds like this, it's really hard to incorporate the Able Sisters and Nook's Cranny and the museum and the campsite. The campsite was one of the hardest ones for me, but I felt like I did pretty well in the grand scheme of things. So the entrance, which I had started, I think in January, turned out beautifully. I've been slowly adding things, and it's mostly the castle items with the plain lights arch and this color rendition of the pergola. And so you can go up either way. It leads to the same area. We have, red lighting. We have lots of metal and pipes. We have street lamps. And over here, I just kept adding stuff until I felt that it did fill in the void. It's really hard to create a villainous volcano lair and add stuff. I could have probably added cannons and things, but there's not really much in the way of adding to the overall grandness of a fortress. So I added more pergolas to fill in the space, and I thought that it turned out so much better. And when you start over here, you have Quinn's house. And I liked the idea that Quinn was kind of, she's a baddie, right? And she's the one that Marlowe has do like all the big, strong things, because she reminds me of like a big, strong, buff lesbian woman, And so over here, this is her favorite way of disposing of heroes, is going and throwing them into the lava. So what I had a really fun time doing was, how do I incorporate different types of like tropes and traps and things that also allow for the lava and the volcano to make an appearance. So we have that over here. And back when this island was a volcanic research institute, Coco was the spirit of the island, and I wanted to keep that momentum going. So I wanted to have there be transition pieces where we featured, the original villagers of the island, specifically Coco and Clay. Another fun thing about this island is I had so much fun decorating the nature part of this island. It was a really fun challenge. I started utilizing different levels of growth when it came to trees, especially with the bamboo. And here you can see that there's a lot of, red and yellow, as I mentioned. I tried to use the volcanoes, obviously, and using a lot of the rock-based DIYs. The cave DIY was super helpful in filling in the pieces, and the pine tree furniture item, I think hands down was my saving grace for this build, especially for beaches. And I tried my best to add more mush DIYs. Those are also my favorite seasonal DIYs in the game. And the red just really added more color to the overall scheme. And with the 2.0 items, the giant vines were amazing. So up over here, we have Flurry's area. Almost all of the houses are decorated to a similar effect. So with the exception of Tabby and Flurry, the robot villagers and Petrie, all of the other villagers that are in the fortress have the same house type. So when you visit, the exterior of the house is kind of boring in comparison, but when you go inside, you really can see the personalities unfold. Oh, is he not home? Oh, bummer. Okay, well, we can take a look at Raymond's and see how I had the villainous accountant, because, capitalism, friends, is the baddiest of them all, and not in a good way. So, as I said, he has all of the access to the money and all of the art. Oh my gosh. Yeah, all of the villagers wear red and black, and it was such a fun time just dressing them so that when I walked around, it looked like they were all part of this one big group. And unfortunately, with the Dream address, you won't be able to see them in, various clothing. I think they are featured with their original dress, but that's okay. That's okay. So when we go over here, this is what I meant about incorporating the stores and things to the island itself. So yeah, it doesn't really match, but we like to consider it maybe like it's the clothing factory for all your baddie needs. You know, if you get blood stains or strawberry jam stains on your uniform, you can change and get more. So I tried to add a little bit of ambiance. I tried to add more gyroids because gyroids are so underutilized in a lot of island builds, and I think for my next island I definitely just want to have gyroids everywhere. So I wanted to make it look like we had, you know, things that were being shipped all the time, that it was bustling and busy, but the thing with a fortress is it's really hard to fill in space without making it so cluttered. And what I appreciated about utilizing Syndrome's designs with the with his volcano lair in The Incredibles was it was really clean. You know, it was very big and spacious and very minimalist. So I was like, how do I incorporate that but still make it seem, you know, baddie? So I added some more, I added thwomps. I think I could have added more of these throughout the island just to be a little obnoxious, but I think just having two in the main area by the resident services was the best bet. And I added a lot of black and white down over here. I thought the black roses would be fun. So the black flowers are all near the lava areas. And so adding that to the main area with some pillars and lights and a few statues and the square bathtub, I thought that really added a nice simple touch, but it's still, you can still navigate it. And so here we have a nice sitting place where Marlo probably gets his news. And when you visit the island, which I hope you do, it's really fun to come see like what houses are available for watching, but this is where you get dressed to impress, and you may need a ladder. Actually, I'm gonna take this ladder because I don't think I have one on me, but you get dressed, become a minion for a day, and have a fun time. And did you just... You used the cannon on yourself. Barreled. It's not the time. It's not yet time. So with Barreled being the security guard, I thought, well, we could have him check in like all of the dangerous stuff before it gets into Marlo's hands. And that's why he has all of the presents for you to get dressed. So when you wake up, just come back here and, you know, appreciate my custom design of Marlo's flag. Get dressed and go for a walk. Like, have a fun time. So while we're here, let's take a look at what I created for the main building. I have an apartment in the attic, which I typically do for most of my builds. I like having that be my area, but I like to consider this because Marlo's area is basically his office. That it, like, if you can imagine that all of the buildings kind of interconnect in some weird way. So this is the office where, you know, I sit and I accept all of, you know, Marlo's bribes and blackmails and everything, and having all the art here that may or may not have been stolen from people. And of course, you know, we have to have something like weird and cursed as well. When you go to the left, I believe this is Marlo's bedroom. I think. It's been a while since I've signed in on this island, actually. Yep, so this is Marlo's bedroom. I would like you to imagine that this is this is kind of like an elevator that goes downstairs, and we'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, we have more, you know, art. We have him being associated with the rich and the powerful with their names. We have, you know, a fax machine because evil people use fax machines. We have glasses, Rolexes. He plays the saxophone. I don't know why. You know, evil people use brass, I guess. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I like the saxophone. And I had the hardest time decorating for his bedroom, but I think it turned out really well. It was a super fun idea. And I used a lot of the cityscape backgrounds, like the wallpaper, even though this isn't a city island, but considering that Marlo is based off of The Godfather, I wanted to add more of a modern chic flair for his baddiness. You know, he may be a baddie, but he believes in, you know, workers' rights and unions and dental. So here we have the dining room where Flurry and Marlo break their fast. So, you know, Marlo has, you know, plans for world domination, and Flurry, who, as I said, Flurry's kind of like Sherb, where if you leave her to her own devices, she's a sadist, friends. So She has a puppy. She loves the puppy. She doesn't do anything to the puppy. Just putting that right now. But you know, she has her own chainsaw, her own, like, it has her name on it and everything. And obviously we had to add more skulls and make it seem that there's a lot of elegance to what they prefer in their lives. So here's the dining room, and I think across the way is the kitchen. It's really funny because I feel like I'm doing this tour for myself because I don't really remember where anything is anymore. And here's the kitchen. So, you know, a nice pantry, the expectation of, you know, 5-course, amazing, elegant meals every single time. I don't know who the cook is. Maybe it's me. I don't know. And then we'll go upstairs to see my apartment. I had a lot of fun changing the way that I decorate because the majority of my decoration skills tend to be more nature-oriented, more not pastel, but muted, right? So having to really up the saturation and change the way that I designed was such a fun way to practice my decorating skills for future islands. I thought this was really genius, actually, using the medieval wall in order to break up the city wallpaper, even though because it's like it seemed a little too much. So having a bit of texture here really added to the momentum. And of course, friends, of course, Artsy has the Artsy chair. Downstairs, this is the first place where I felt I could have really pushed the envelope. I didn't want to have something truly violent. You know, I didn't want to have anything specifically gory, but I wanted to show that, yes, this was a baddie island. Yes, they deal with their enemies in a very permanent way. So having access to the volcano means that, you know, there's no evidence, right? And so adding some mushrooms and kind of making it look like this is part of the island that isn't, you know, it isn't seen, it isn't shown when there are delegates and, you know, representatives of various organizations that Marlowe is connected to. They don't show them this part of the island, you know, even with the volcano trap where, you know, Quinn pushes people to their demise. They clean up around over there. They don't show what's going on. But when you go back here, this is kind of where the fun starts. And this was the last part of the build where I felt I was the most strong. So, oh, here's Sprocket. So one thing that I wanted to add was that this was a gold economy, you know, without any form of inflation. So Marlowe does a lot of mining purposes, and I thought, oh, we could do a building that like leads to a cave where the Plaza train can bring the gold over to, oh yes, friends, oh yes, the robot factory. This robot factory was inspired by the one, the only EJ Plays with his Auna dystopian core city build. I was so inspired by EJ's build that I had to have it, and also because robots are a great representation of not only anonymity with minions, but also the fact that they are easily replaceable. So I thought, well, I could use the museum as the base of the factory. And back in the day, you know, pre 2.0, I had tried to make the museum into a factory, and that was, I think, the first time I got rated, if you can believe it. But with the 2.0 items, I had such a fun time figuring out how to really expand this the museum to being an entire factory. So all of the robots are here. This is Cephalobot, and this is Ribot. We can take a look, and you know, I used some like 1.0 capabilities with the bookshelf and the simple panels, but a lot of what I used were the retro transportation stops, the metal gears. It turned out so much better than I could have hoped, and I think, I don't know if there's going to be a future build where I just make it in like a huge factory. That would be really fun to make as a maze, actually. I'll have to remember that. Yeah. So, which way should I go? I'll go this way, and then we'll finish back with Nook's Cranny. So I liked the idea of this being more rundown. I think with the exception of a few lilies of the valley, this is one of the very few white flowers that I have. And I wanted to keep incorporating the fact that this factory utilizes gold for whatever reason. The machine arm was super fun. And during this build, someone had recommended that I use, a companion cube from Portal. And so there's no reason other than it was for shiggles. So just enjoy that fun representation of other games. And so when you go back down here, this is where we have, CJ's here. This is where we have Sprocket. Sprocket is also, the house is still the same. He's kind of like the entrance area. This is the entrance to the factory. I could have done more with this. I tried to make the buildings different, but also cohesive. And I have to say the wide display stands are just like the next bookshelves for builds. They are so great. And if you continue down over here, I liked the idea that Sprocket was more than Ribot or Cephalobot. He had like feelings. He was like Data from Star Trek, He liked to improve and work on himself, so he was really interested in gardening. So I did like the idea of making this island actually have things to do if I wanted to play the game as Nintendo intended. And, back over here we have a nice little spot for hanging out. And I liked the idea of making this into a gyroid garden as well. Oh, also, Spikenoid had to make an appearance. Spikenoid is my favorite gyroid in the game. I think I referred to him as, my son during the drop of 2.0. Like, all of my beaches are decorated, and there is this one beach. Oh, here we are. There's this one beach that you need to be aware of before you get here. Here we have Petrie's, secret lab. We refer to it as the space program. And so here I used a 1.0 item like build, and there's a warp pipe in the main area that you can jump to and see a different way that this looks. I actually like the overview of this, so be sure to do that. I don't know if Petrie is inside, but also all of the houses are decorated, so take a look at my, my amazing decorating skills. Validate me, please. That's why I'm on YouTube. So again, here we have more wild decorations that are cohesive with the build. Fun fact, if you are ever looking to add more texture to lava, if you have lava on your island, in fact, if you just look up lava on the custom code, you will find this path. It's amazing. It's probably my favorite. But use the glowing moss boulder in red. It looks like a lava pool, It looks really cool. And I added, more happy dead people on top of it. And then, of course, if you add the leaf campfire, I think that really adds that feeling that, oh, stuff's burning, right? And adding more black flowers to show that things are wilting or, changing color. And down over here, oh, here's Petrie. It's basically just a really nice walk. But when you go down here, this beach has, it's booby trapped. So you can guess which ones are booby trapped and which ones are not with the pitfalls. I was really worried about having my villagers walk over here and yep, and hate me. But I really liked the idea of having a booby-trapped island, and I didn't feel willing to do that throughout the entire island, so I just put that there. And when you walk back over here, we're getting closer to the entrance. This is Marlowe's little boat shed. So if you can imagine James Bond with like the boat scenes where they're chasing and they have these ridiculous explosions, don't get me started on the science of James Bond. It drives me crazy. I'm not even science oriented and it drives me crazy. So I made like a small cute little shed for the boats for all of your needs. I think it's 2 storefronts, the stone kitchen, the fence, the wooden storage thingy, this thing right here, and one retro transportation stop site thing. So it's really easy to build. So if you're looking to add more small, like tiny buildings around your island, I highly recommend doing that. And I just liked the idea of putting the boat here. And then we basically make it all the way around the island to where we get to the fortress. And over here, it's kind of the bottom view of the lava trap that Quinn will throw people into. And I didn't want to make it so that it was totally closed off, but I wanted to make it seem like, you know, you had to look for it. So we have the Squeaknoid, who, I don't know, I just like putting gyroids everywhere. We have hero number 5 with his sword, and using the rock items was really helpful for adding texture. I think I could have done a little bit more with making this. I think I could have added a little bit more perspective to it. And, you know, I liked the gong area. What else? And this is a tide pool rock path that I also truly love and want to utilize on the next island, because it is perfect for both beaches and also for the land. And when we go over here, this is the campsite. This doesn't have anything to do with baddie stuff. I needed to put it somewhere, and I didn't want it to like stick out like a sore thumb. So it's kind of out of the way, but it's not. I wanted to make sure, as we continue on backwards to the other side of the island, that the beaches were different enough that it wasn't boring, but they were still cohesive. So it continues on using more Stonehenge, more pine trees, and then we use the glowing moss ponds and the Easter Island heads. I was given the Easter Island heads, I think it was during the Volcano Research Institute, and I didn't really utilize them. And so I had a good dozen of them, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I should use it for here. So adding more of them and playing around with the spiky fences, which I don't often use, and you know, so it's still really simple. It's just 2 items really for the next, you know, space. And going back here, trying to decorate with, you know, adding nature was a bit of a difficult stretch for me, because this is where I was getting done. I didn't add as many tropes as I had wanted for this island. So the majority of this island is basically just a tropical nature island that has a big fortress and a baddie flair. So I do think that the houses themselves will be my saving grace. But over here, these were the last 2 builds that I had done for the island. We have Flurry's pets, you know, Godzilla and Godzilla's children, I guess, with a nice little gong to bring them to eat the heroes. And this is probably one of my favorite builds on this island. It was a very last minute decision. I was trying to figure out, how do I add, you know, sharks to the final build, because you know sharks with freaking lasers, but I had to make it a little bit more sinister. So here we have Flurry, who will, you know, drink her strawberry daiquiri and sit in this pool while her enemies are consumed by sharks. And I need to provide some information, is that, you know, for the most part, sharks are not violent against people. They are opportunistic predators. So I don't like supporting this trope because it does cause harm to sharks. So please know, and as a disclaimer, that this is a baddie trope. This is not true. It is not based on reality. Sharks are incredibly important for the environment. They're just incredible creatures that have been around for so many years, much longer than we've ever been on this planet. So please be sure to not take any thought that I think that sharks are, you know, awful and are evil creatures, because they're not. But I did like this build, though. I mean, I thought this was a really cool pool. Even with removing the sharks here, this would be a really nice outdoor build that I may utilize in the final or the next build, I should say. And also the bubble machine, because bubbles are fun. So with more transition pieces with nature, which I had a really fun time doing. This is where I tried to incorporate Nook's Cranny. It's basically the same build that was there before I made this build, but with the difference of it being more like smuggling artwork and using, I think this didn't really change at all. Like Red's Island is pretty much the same, and I just expanded it where there's more barrels here, more like a different feel of like the loading dock. And here is the final build of this island, in which I thought was very clever. I think it wasn't my idea. I think someone had made the suggestion that I have like the self-destruct button, and I should have found like don't press and put it here. But this is where if I was at a point of creativity and also energy, that I would have just like pressed this and you would have like this huge explosion, and then there was the reset. So that is Sonder, friends. It took 5 months to create from start to finish. I think if I had focused on this island, it would have taken a little bit it wouldn't have taken as much time. And also because I'm starting to create more video content, I hope that I don't do as much off stream or off, without any recording videos. So please be sure, friends, that you come visit and let me know what your favorite part of the island is. And the next time that I feature this switch, it'll be a brand new island. It'll be super fun. So I'm really bad at ending videos. I'm going to call it here, but please just bear in mind that we have a brand new schedule that'll be occurring for the summer only, because HubsMod is going to be on summer vacation, which means that we've worked out a new schedule for me to create more content and build more momentum with more artwork, maybe even making a game and featuring more games aside from Animal Crossing, like Stardew Valley, other stuff too. So I will catch you next time, hopefully within the next week or so. And with that, friends, I'll see you later.